Hello and welcome to part 9. Yes, you heard that right, part 9 of Talking with Socks. And today we're going to be looking at doing the toe. And if you've got this far, there's absolutely nothing new here at all. So you will absolutely be able to do this, no problem at all. Okay, so we knitted our foot. Look at all those lovely stripes. And I have changed back to my contrast colour so you can see my toes, because I like having a contrast colour for my toes. I'm using a nutmeg. So there's a 2 round repeat for the toe. So the first round, round 1, I'll just get to the beginning of my round because I'm 1 before my stitch marker, so that my stitch marker didn't fall off. Okay, so I'm going to keep my stitch markers on for now. We're going to keep on the circular needle. At some point we will have to go back onto our double points because there'll be too few stitches on the needle to stretch all the way around. But I'll show you when we get there. Okay, we keep going with our 2 rounds until it's just too tight, and then we'll go on to the double points. But I'll show you when we get there. Not there yet. So round 1, it says knit 3 stitches before the marker. Okay, so we're going to go across, just knitting across. And you'll feel when you're getting to your mark, you'll feel when it's coming along. So you'll know when you're almost there. Okay, I'm there. So I'm 3 stitches before my marker. I've got 3 left on my needle before my marker. So it says knit 2 together, which we've done before. So we're knitting those 2 stitches together. Make sure it goes through both stitches. Knit 2 together, knit 1, and then slip marker. So that's one stitch decreased. Now the pattern says knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, another stitch decreased. And it says, and then you repeat. So we knit to 3 stitches before the marker. We're still on round 1. We're just going to repeat exactly what we've done. So we got all the way to 3 stitches before. Just wiggle the stitches around the needle sometimes. So come on, this way. Three stitches before, not there yet. Not there yet. 3 stitches before, nearly. Three stitches before, and we're repeating exactly what we did before. So we're knitting 2 together. Make sure it wriggles through both of them. That's it. Knit 1, slip marker, knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, knit to the marker. Just knit all the way to the marker, and then we'll be on round 2. Oh, what did I do wrong there? Wasn't concentrating. Wasn't looking at what I was doing. almost at that marker. Almost at the marker, there we are, slip the marker, and round 2. So it says slip the marker at the start of the round, and then we knit to the next marker. So this round there are no decreases, it is just knitting. So we knit across to the next marker, all the way across. And that's round 2 complete. We slip the marker and then you're ready to start round 1 again. So you're knitting to 3 stitches before the marker, and then you're doing your round of decreases. So you continue repeating those until you get to 24 stitches, but at some point before you get to 24 stitches we're going to have to put those stitches onto the double points because it will get too tight, and I'll show you how to do that when we get there. So round 1, knitting to 3 stitches before your marker. Okay, so I've got down to 36 stitches. That's a tongue twister. Ooh, my stitch marker's just fallen off. Let me just pop it back on. So I've just got to the end of round 1, and you can see how my stitches are quite stretched around the outside of my needle. Now I probably could do another row of decrease, but I'm actually going to knit onto my double points now before it gets too tight, because then it gets really quite tricky to move the stitches around the needle. So instead of having the stitch markers, the ends of our needles or the stitches that are on the needle will be marked between what would have been between the stitch markers. I'll show you. It will make more sense when I actually do it. Okay, so I'm going to take my stitch marker off, and I'm going to knit, because this is a round 2, instead of slipping my marker, I've slipped my marker completely off my needle. So I've taken it off, so slip my marker, it says, and then knit to the next marker. So I'm going to knit all these stitches from my circular needle onto one double point. Because I've moved it onto another needle, when I do my second, when I knit my second one, I'm just going to give a little tug so it's nice and tight, so I don't end up with a bit of a gap in my sock. Oops. See how they are quite tricky just to move around, but give that quite a pull. So I will have 18 stitches on this double point by the time I get to the stitch marker. So I've got to my stitch marker, and instead of slipping the stitch marker onto my needle, I'm going to slip it off. Off it goes, slipped off. And then I have to slip, sorry, just let me check. So I've knitted all those, I've slipped the marker, knitted the next marker, I've slipped it, okay, and now I'm starting my round 1 again. So I need to knit to 3 stitches before what would have been my marker, which actually is my double pointed needle, but I'm going to knit these stitches onto 2 needles. You can't knit just with 2 double points, it's fairly impossible. So I'm going to knit half the stitches onto 1 double point, giving it a little tug at the beginning there so I don't end up with a gap. So that's going to be 9 stitches onto here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then I'm going to get another double point, and I'll get the next 9 stitches are going to go on here, but because we're around 1, okay, we're actually knitting to 3 before where the marker was. So I shall knit the first 6, and then I'm following my pattern as if round 1. So I will need to knit 2 together. So 1, 2, 6, knit 2 together, to give it quite a wriggle to get it in. There we go. Knit 2 together, knit 1. Okay, so circular needle finished with for this sock. Okay, so you can start to see how the toes are actually decreasing. Yeah, so we're getting a toe shape at the end of our sock. Okay, so we're on around 1, so we've got to our first, what would have been our first marker, having just knitted 2 together, okay, and then knitted 1, and then we follow our pattern. So we knit 1, you just have to get used to being back with your double points. Knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, slip 1 over, knit to the end of the needle. This is the needle with 18, well, it did have 18 on, it's now got 17 because I've just decreased 1 stitches, so it's got most stitches on. So 3 before the end of this needle would have been 3 before the marker. If you're not quite sure, if you just lie the sock flat, you can see the edges where you're decreasing. You decrease in the same place either side of your sock each time. So we knit 2 together, knit 1. Out comes that needle, gives a little tug so we don't get a gap. Okay, so knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, pass that over. Okay, and then we're knitting all of the rest of the stitches on this needle. And then all the stitches on the next needle. And that's the end of your round 1 on double points, so you're on to round 2. And the round 2 when you're in a double points is literally just knitting across the needle with the most stitches on, which, let's have a look and see how many we've got. We'll have a check. Should have, I'm thinking, 16 stitches on it. So our round 2, instead of going all the way around, is actually just, it's almost like an across rather than a round, because we would have slipped our marker, we knit to the marker and slip the marker, but the markers are gone, so we're just knitting these stitches. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay, so round 1 is knit across here, and then we do another round 2, and we just repeat that until we've just got 12 stitches on here and 12 on the back, so a total of 24. Okay, and then we're ready just to finish off our sock. Okay, so well done. Keep going. Remember, one stitch at a time, one row at a time, and it's a good idea just to pause and have a look and see, because you're decreasing in the same place either side of your sock. Look at that lovely shape. Okay, so well done. That's part 9 of your sock, the toes.